Hello, thanks for visiting this channel again. So, today I'll be talking about academic misconduct and how seriously universities take it. As students, sometimes we innocently commit a misconduct and we do not understand or we do not know the implication of it. And in this current time of technology, universities are upping their game in respect to ensuring that there are different technologies that can detect any form of misconduct. Even the lecturers or the module leader that is reading or the examiner that is reading your work can be able to detect misconduct when they see it. So let me start by saying misconduct is something that no university takes lightly. To some extent, they give you a chance to or reduce for you to face a panel to defend your allegation. But depending on the strength of the misconduct, they can decide to reduce some points in your overall grade or in your overall graduation. Every university has an academic registry that is responsible for preparing a policy document that states the different type of academic misconduct that a student may commit. And the academic misconduct is usually investigated by the director of study. Meanwhile, your lecturer or your module leader is the one who reports any detected misconduct to the director of study. After which, when they detect this, after so many investigation, they send you an official email or within the feedback of your assignment, they tell you that you've been suspected of misconduct. So from that, you have an opportunity to reply whether you want to accept that you did commit a misconduct or you want to deny the allegation. Either case, you may get the chance to face a panel where you'll be represented by the student, a member of the student union, where a member of the director of studies unit would be there, the leader would also be there, and also you will be there. It's not the panel is not illegal. It's not a legal thing whereby you probably decide that you want to bring in a lawyer. So it doesn't get to that stage, but it's a procedure whereby the university puts in place to ensure that you defend whatever it is they have alleged that you did. So with the current stage, there are different kind of misconduct and there are different categories depending on the strength of that misconduct. There are things that we do innocently that we do not know that it's actually academic misconduct, but it weighs heavily on universities. When, firstly, one thing is plagiarism is something that most of us are probably guilty of and we don't know. Take, for instance, you copy somebody's work and you do not acknowledge the writer, or you do not acknowledge the person that actually produced that work. When you have an idea, you are advised not to copy someone's idea verbatim. So the moment you do that, it's called plagiarism. Another thing is plagiarism could actually be you tweaking the word. It doesn't mean that you haven't changed the word, but then just changing the word does not mean that you have acknowledged the person. It doesn't mean that you have escaped plagiarism. Changing the words does not necessarily mean that you have avoided plagiarism. When you are preparing your work, you have to ensure that when you are conveying the idea, you have to write it the way you have interpreted it. So it doesn't mean that you are just changing the word, because some people decide that they want to use word tune or Gilbert to, just tune the word, to change the word. You may still be plagiarizing. And when you plagiarize, one thing that university do is that when you submit your work, you see the similarity report would definitely tell you whether or not the amount of plagiarism that is within your work. The percentage differs from university to university, but I want to believe that typically, if your work is above 15%, it is regarded as high plagiarism and you really need to work on it, depending on the level. For a PhD level work, a minimum no more than 5% plagiarism is acceptable. For master's level, no more than 10%. But for an undergraduate level, there is still some level of flexibility. But then I'm not saying that this is a certain percentage, because universities differ, and the amount of plagiarism would also differ depending on your lecturer. So some another thing is collusion is something that we may not know that we are we are guilty of. Sometimes you don't know some things and you want someone to shed the light on it for you. That's a different case entirely. When you seek knowledge and someone else teaches you how to go about it, is different from you sharing the same idea and submitting practically the same assignment. So literally you and some other student are submitting a work that is very similar. So if a lecturer is probably reading your work, they are most likely to see that these students have worked together and they have colluded. So, and this is mostly common in works whereby you are probably grouped, but then you have to submit an individual assignment. Because you were grouped, you think that yes, most you are most likely to have similar assignment, but then you are remember that you are submitting your assignment individually. So when you are submitting your assignment individually, you have to ensure that the content of your assignment is different. We could sit down and read together, we could sit down and discuss together, but how we write and how we interpret our idea within the body of our assignment or the body of our work will definitely differ. Another thing that the university is really clamping down on, contracting the assignment. That's something that some universities call contract plagiarism, or contracting the assignment, as the word literally says. This is because there is a high influx of international students, and some of these students, I'm not saying that only international students are guilty of this, but they realize that with the large influx of international students, this particular misconduct is getting really high, and they are finding ways to control it. Contract assignment is when a student decides that, okay, I'm not going to write this assignment myself, I'm probably going to give it to someone to do it for me, and by the time they do it for me, I'm just going to submit the assignment just the way it is. That is very wrong. That is gross misconduct, and no university would accept that. The moment they detect that you did not write this assignment yourself, this is what we call exceptionally serious misconduct, whereby there is the penalty on it is really high. Now, there are so many online helpers, so to say, that help people to do their assignments. But one thing we haven't understood about these people is that when they have so many people helping, that they are helping in writing the assignment, so they can't have enough time to dedicate to your own assignment because they have so many work at hand. So they tend to use artificial intelligence to prepare the assignment. They use AI tools to prepare the assignment. And when they use AI tools to prepare those assignments, or probably theses, you find out that when you're reading that thesis, there is no link, there is no connectivity at different sections of the work. At that moment, you get to see that this is not something that was written by a human being. Universities are not saying that students shouldn't use AI, but then you have to use it ethically. Ethical use of AI is recommended to students. So we need to understand that the universities recommend that students use AI, although depending on the guidelines or ethical guidelines that are university, sometimes lecturers would encourage students to use AI, but then they have to guide you on how to use it. We should also understand that when you submit your assignment, yes, you do see the Turnitin percentage of similarity, but then there is also another tool that is used to check the amount of AI usage. So when you are submitting your assignment, or when you decide to use AI in writing your assignment, you should adhere to your school's guideline on how to use generative AI tools. So there are different forms of academic misconduct. Firstly, it could be the issues of plagiarism. It could be the issues that relates to examination, sometimes disturbing within the examination, or not listening to academic staffs that are monitoring or invigilating the exam is termed to be exam misconduct. when you are told not to bring in your phone or any device into the exam hall is termed academic misconduct. Another one is when you submit your assignment, when you sublet your assignment to someone to help you do it, is academic misconduct. When you collude with your fellow students in doing the assignments, is termed academic misconduct. So all these things, you have to ensure that you check your university regulations in respect to academic misconduct. Another thing that I'm going to talk about are the different categories of academic misconduct. In the school where I teach, they categorize the academic misconduct in terms of category A, category B, and exceptionally serious academic misconduct. These categories differ in respect to how much they think that you have committed an academic misconduct. I'll give you an instance. Category A misconduct is when they see that, okay, yeah, you've written your assignment, but they can see that there are slight places where you didn't make your citations, where you didn't cite the original owner of the idea. You have poor citations, poor a lot of probably plagiarism, and but then your idea is within the context of the work, so they can allege you of category A misconduct. Then the category B misconduct is when a vast majority of your work is someone else's idea, someone else's work, without actually acknowledging the person at all. You didn't even put it in the reference, that literally just like stealing someone's idea and submitting it as your own. And then exceptionally serious academic misconduct. And when you are accused of this, then you should really take it serious, because it may, firstly, depending on how much or how many times you commit this misconduct, will determine the amount of points that they are going to take from your graduating point. So students need to be very careful. Firstly, if you've been accused of an academic misconduct once, try as much as possible to avoid it on a second time. Well, instead of repeating all this misconduct, ensure that you avoid it. Try to know the source of your misconduct. Try to understand what you were doing wrong so as not to commit another one. Because if you become a serial offender of academic misconduct, I'm telling you, it's really going to affect your academic standing. So the long and short of this video is that students should be very careful when they are writing their assignments, when they are writing their, when doing any academic work, be it research or be it a taught program. You should be very careful, because these universities don't take it lightly. Students don't know that aside from Turnitin, you could have a very good similarity report. You could have a very good similarity score. That is, your Turnitin may give you a very low Turnitin percentage, but then it doesn't totally say that the AI used, the percentage of AI used, would not be high. So you have to be very careful. Turnitin is different from percentage check, and most times most universities do not make it shown on your assignment submission. It is when they are doing the investigation behind that they check the percentage of AI use. And one thing that most students don't know is that sometimes AI can help you generate a very good report. It will help you cite. But one thing most students don't know is that most citations, some of the citations generated using AI, are not existing. There are citations that don't exist. It just formulates one citation and puts in the report. And these are ways that director of studies team used to check the originality of the reports that you have prepared. So I want to encourage our students, considering that you have paid so much coming into the university, the hustle and bustle of university life is too much for you to spend so much and then be caught for such offenses of academic misconduct. Let's try to take our time to go through our courses, go through our assignments, understand everything that has to do with your assignment, so that you would not fall victim of any form of academic misconduct. Thank you for visiting, coming on my channel to watch my videos. Kindly like, subscribe, and drop your comments. on this video, and I'll see you in our next video. Thank you.